Welcome to the Obesity Medicine Podcast with your host, Dr. Matea Rentia, board certified in internal medicine and obesity medicine. Here, we talk about a path to metabolic health, and we have real conversations about chronic weight management and living a full life. Just a reminder, I am a physician, but I'm not your physician. So everything that's on this podcast is for informational purposes, but please go talk to your doctor about what's right for you. There is no medical advice being given on this podcast. I'm really excited today to have Maggie, the creator behind Pump Med, on the podcast. She's a current third going into fourth year medical student. And I came across your videos because I think it was one where you were talking about some way to make healthy snacks, and you were talking about getting the crunch in there. And it was so practical, so easy. I started to follow you, and the way in which you spoke about getting fitness in, not leaving your nutrition to chance. You just had so many pearls. When I saw you, I thought, gosh, how many women out there are in really busy, and I should say men too. We do have men listeners.
Yeah. Sure.
You know why I'm leaving them
Male
out.
med students exist, yeah.
So I thought about, we are all so busy, and it's really hard to do practical good health when you have all that stuff going on. And I thought, you are truly in one of the worst seasons that you're going to go through. Just telling you, being a little bit in front of you.
Yep.
And so I thought it'd be really great to have you on. Maggie, can you start off with just telling us a little bit about yourself, just so we have a little bit of background on you?
Yeah, awesome. Well, first of all, thanks so much for having me on, because I think one of the things, and we were just talking about this, the barrier to entry when it comes to content creation is thinking about, oh, well, people care about what I have to say. This is a really cool full circle moment in a way of people will always care about your unique experience because no one else can do it like you can or talk about it like you can.
Totally.
But a little bit about me. So I'm initially from Buffalo, New York. I'm an upstate girl. Grew up super active, playing sports. I was a college soccer player. And up until that point, I feel like when you're young, you have injuries, you brush them off, your body rebounds pretty easily. Health was always in the background. I grew up eating pretty healthy and taking care of my body, but during college, I tore my ACL.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty serious injury and can totally affect all aspects of your life. I mean, your overall health, your mental health, your social health.
Yeah.
And that was really the turning point for me. I got into strength and conditioning, lifting really hardcore. That was also during COVID too. I had all the time in the world to just sink into recovery. And I gained such an appreciation for that process. Finished up college. I mean, college wasn't really that interesting. It's like a biology major, right? But always kind of this idea of, okay, I think I'm going to go into the health professions. I had two grandparents who were doctors, so I saw that from a really young age. And I was like, okay, I think, sure, why not? Let's give it a go. Maybe not the best reasoning looking back. But so then I find myself going to med school and going on a journey through the process and ending up here where now I was really burnt out in the beginning. I didn't know if this was for me, and finding my niche with content creation and educating others. And so that's where we're at today.
What occurs to me when you're talking about this injury and what happened after, it makes me think of post-traumatic growth, right? Where like some event happens and it could have just knocked you out. You could have become a couch potato after that, but you're like, okay, I'm going to shift. I'm going to do things differently. I don't like that you went through an injury, but you do probably understand what a lot of people are going through, because that happens a lot in my world. People are doing amazing, and then something horrendous happens. And I'm like, this is not the end of your journey. This is just a little blip. We're going to get through this. So it's good to hear how you got through that. If you were to think about people that are really busy, right? They're really overwhelmed. What do you think you'd say would be like maybe top 3 health tips? Or I don't care if it's mindset, practical, maybe you have more than 3.
Well, I really feel like when it comes down to it, there are 3 kind of pillars that I like to take care of when I'm in a super busy season of life. So one is physical health. So finding what your floor is. And as someone whose ceiling was really high, right, as a college athlete and someone who just loves fitness and strength, it can be hard during those busy seasons when you feel like, oh, like I know what my ceiling is, but I can only hit my floor right now.
Yeah.
So I'd say the first pillar is figuring out what your floor is, because when you're super busy, if you can just consistently hit that floor, you're going to make it through that season in one piece.
Hmm.
The second thing would be you said that you had found a piece of content about nutrition
Yeah.
that I had posted. And I think when it comes to nutrition, so many things that I've seen in med school when it comes to other classmates having a hard time maintaining their own health or just like other friends, busy professionals that I have, it's like meal prep and, well, how do I know what to eat or how do I know what to get with my grocery shopping? I think my second pillar would be simplification when it comes to food, relying on grocery delivery services if you can afford it, grocery pickup. I said on my Instagram, I'm like, abuse Instacart if you can, right? And meals that are very simple and easily repeatable. That is my highest yield point with that pillar. My third pillar would be protecting your time and mental health outside of whatever you're doing, even if it's only an hour at the end of the day, even if it's one day a week. Often in healthcare, you get one day in a
Yeah.
week. You're
Yeah.
6 on, you have one day off. Whatever that is, as much as you love the system, it's not going to love you back sometimes. Making sure you really are taking the time to protect things outside of whatever you're doing. That's my baseline. Yeah.
These are phenomenal. And I'm like, I want to dig into each of them. Let's do the first one, the physical activity. And I love how you talk about finding your floor. I say baseline
Yeah.
minimum, right? That's like the
Yes.
terminology for everyone that's listening. How do you find what that is? Like, let me ask this. This is really what I mean. How do you find what's enough? Because I think people always,
Mm,
like how you're talking about, like you always think you should be doing more. How
yes.
can you be okay with whatever it is you can realistically do?
That is an excellent question. And that is still a question or a point that even I still struggle with knowing
Mm.
when I'm pushing too far, when I'm not pushing enough. And I think what this really comes down to is learning your body over the course of time. It's not going to be, okay, I'm going to talk to a fitness coach or I'm going to go through a bunch of Instagram reels. I'm going to ask ChatGPT and it's going to tell me what my body needs. I think figuring out your floor, a lot of it comes from long-term experimentation and seeing what is sustainable over the course of time. Something I like to do is I'll run experiments for 2 weeks at a time. And so, to give you a concrete example, during one of the hardest rotations of medical school, which is notoriously it's the surgery rotation,
Yeah.
you're there 6 to 6, sometimes 6 days a week as a medical student. And during that season, my floor was a lot lower than my floor during preclinical or when I'm just book studying, right?
Yeah.
So every 2 weeks, I would be like, okay, if my bare minimum is 2 lifts a week and 8 to 10,000 steps a day, let's see how I feel. Let's see if that's sustainable at the end of 2 weeks. That's not working. Okay, let's switch it up. I will say too, I had worked with a coach for a really long time growing up. I also think learning from someone else who was more knowledgeable than me at the time helped me just grasp the foundation before I added my own twist onto things.
I totally agree with you because you don't know what you don't know. It's almost like you get to jump the line as far as knowledge. And I think the getting a mentor, a coach, whatever it is, price.
And
And I like to use the term like non-committal experimentation, which is what you're talking
I
about,
love
right?
that.
So I love that. Like 2 weeks, you see if it works, you see if it doesn't, you adjust it. Because to your point, when you were on that rotation, you didn't know what your energy was going to do because sometimes it keeps declining as time goes on
Yes.
when the hours don't let up, right? And
Yes.
so you would adjust and flex with it. And then let's see here, number two with nutrition. Can you tell us about, so what are some of these simplified meals or some of the, like
Yes.
maybe what are some staples that you keep bringing in the house?
Yeah, so I get fixated on foods, and I'm sure a lot of my other high protein, health conscious ladies out there, or maybe that's just me, but I get
No, I
really
get fixated
fixated.
too.
Yeah, I get like when I find something that works, I'm like, let me go hard on that one in the paint. For me, breakfast has always looked like I love Greek yogurt. I always have Greek yogurt in the house, high protein Greek yogurt. Oikos is a brand I really love. The vanilla. I'm not sure if you can mention brands on here,
Yes,
but
yeah, yeah,
shout out Oikos. That paired with a fat source, so almond butter,
yeah.
or a really good quality granola. Purely Elizabeth is another brand that I will, grain-free Purely Elizabeth. I always
Yes.
have that. Is good with fiber. And then I alternate between like berries or sometimes I'll do dates, but the dates are high on the glycemic index, so sometimes I won't go. If I need the energy some days.
Yeah.
So those are kind of like I really try to keep it high protein, high fat, a little bit of carb in the morning.
If anyone's listening, that is so good for insulin resistance. We're
Yeah.
not wanting a bunch of carbs in the morning. That's the time we're most insulin resistant.
I've heard like shout out Dr. Stacy Sims, I believe that's her name. She talks a lot about how like the difference between fasting in the morning for women and men and how women's bodies actually do not respond as well to fasting. So I also try to eat protein before I have the caffeine. So that's
Yep.
something I'll do in the morning. And then in terms of just other general staples I love a lean ground beef. That's always a meat I'll have.
Mhm.
A rotisserie chicken is such a hack because you don't have to cook it. So I love a good rotisserie chicken. Sweet potato, I consume those house down boots like no one else's business. And some sort of veggie, like a salad with cucumbers, tomato. My diet is really not complicated. And as far as dressings, lemons, avocado oil sprays, I didn't mention avocado, but that's another great fat source. Really basic ingredients and just doing that again and again. Yeah,
Totally. So through doing that, does it make it easier your grocery list? Because it's kind of like re-putting the same things in the cart. The cognitive load isn't as heavy when you're doing that.
exactly. And that's actually a point I had written down before coming on today was lessening the cognitive load for yourself and the amount of decisions you have to make. Literally, when I go on Instacart during some of my busiest seasons, I have one day off a week, you're grinding during the week. There's a feature where it's just add previous cart, checkout. So you don't really have to think about it. Like all of those healthy choices are made right there for you. And I think those little moments are truly the difference maker. When you're tired at the end of the day, are you going out for the fast food or are you just having that safeguard in place to set yourself up for the next week?
Do you once a week cut the cucumbers? Like, do you do that or how do you handle that aspect of things?
Like the actual meal prep
Yeah.
aspect of it.
Yeah.
So when I was on my 6 on, 1 off grind, which I unfortunately will have to do again intern year, it was a Sunday meal prep. And it was every Sunday around 1 or 2 p.m. Didn't matter what I was doing, drop it and prepping lunches. Because I think lunch is where it gets really hairy for
Yeah.
people. Breakfast is normally something that it's like you don't really have to think about it. It's just like slop in a bowl. But lunch is where the bad decisions are made because you're in the hospital and oh, if I don't have a lunch today, okay, I'm just going to do, I was guilty of this, coffee in a bar. And then by the time I get home, I'm ravenous, I have no energy. It's not great. Lunch is something, even if I couldn't prep dinner, dinner would be a bonus if I could prep it. I really aim to do big crock pot meals sometimes with chicken because you have that for the whole week.
Mhm.
But lunch, every Sunday prepping lunch was such a game changer because it was just like a safeguard against making bad decisions during the week.
Did you already do that in school before that, or was this a new thing
No,
in medical school?
no,
Okay.
because I had never had to work the hours before that year.
Okay, this is so unscripted because I literally I didn't know all of you before you came on. And I because
Yeah,
I was thinking about this thing, seasons change for people, right? And so
yeah,
I love how we're basically talking to you when you now have been a few years in this really high pressure cooker, increased
yeah,
hours, all those kind of things, and your approach changed. And so I love hearing that because people, you can't do the same things necessarily, right? When a woman has a baby, that's a different season compared to some other time. We have to really honor where we're at.
yeah.
If you make a crock pot thing, do you already pre-portion the servings out or do you just take out what you want for the meal?
So essentially, I the magic number for me with a meal is minimum 30 grams of protein. And breakfast, sometimes it'll be 20. It'll be a bit
Yeah.
lower if I'm like about to go
Yeah.
work out. There's that rule. It's like the fist is
Yeah.
the 30 grams. I like to portion out, do 5 chicken breasts for the week. I don't have to think too much about it, right? It's
Yeah.
just that's generally, and I'm not someone who tracks either because I think that inherently increases the cognitive load that goes along with eating. And we want to make it as easy as possible for people.
Totally. Yeah, I'll never forget because obviously I had a weight struggle my whole life. And I remember in
Yeah.
medical school, I was like, I gotta work on this. And I remember I was trying to do the calorie counting
Yeah.
and it was so stressful because it was like,
Stressful.
well, what was in that? And what it was just every single thing had something that was a problem. What I know now, if I'd known that then, it would have been a whole different world. Because same thing where I'm like focused on the protein, the fiber, things like that. Just finding a system that works for you. I think that's probably also a reason why your content resonates because you can tell it's not disordered.
That's so real. Well, going back to a point you just said, I think it's not about getting to a level where you feel like you have to track every little thing. It's about having a game plan that can evolve with you. And that is the approach I also take to strength training. And then also going back to the flexibility with different seasons of your life. So right now, I'm not as busy and I actually prefer to cook my food. That's an activity that brings me a lot of joy. So having that flexibility of, okay, I'm not putting the pressure on myself to have to meal prep and know all my macros every single week because I also think that takes the fun out of food.
Yeah.
And it should be a nourishing, hopefully fun, healthy, and can be creative experience.
How did you learn recipes that tasted good? Was it at home or you saw it online or how'd you figure it out?
I do get a lot of my inspo from Reels. I'm a like I scroll through that. I do try to keep it to minimal ingredients. A lot of what I make, it's not a recipe. It's just ingredients,
Yeah,
like
totally.
well-seasoned ground beef, well-cooked sweet potato with some ghee and half an avocado, right? You could get more fancy with it. I'm also super fortunate. I came from a house where both my parents really liked to cook.
Yeah.
And so I kind of caught that bug from a young age. But in terms of learning recipes, I also think we put pressure on ourselves to make like all of these meals look as beautiful as what we see on Instagram. And it's like, that's not the reality. Some days you're just going to be eating a bowl that kind of looks like dog kibble. And so that's why I post it because I'm like, people need to know that my
No.
dinner is not aesthetic, but it gets the job done.
I know
So
it's online, it is so fake, and then people think they need to live up to that. I love how you said it looks like dog kibble.
I know because I'm like, I use 93.7 ground beef, and people are like, you should just really go 80/20 and live your life. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe post residency.
Yeah. Like right now it's working.
Right on.
So if someone, let's say there's someone where they're having a hard time getting going on let's say
Mhm.
starting physical activity all or at all, or meal planning, do you have any tips or words of encouragement for them with that?
Yeah, I think getting started is the hardest part. It's funny because it's not really the act of planning that I think where you see it can certainly provide motivation when you're learning and you're like, okay, I'm gonna buy this and go to the grocery store and plan this. But I think where the real motivation and I want to use like the word momentum comes from
No.
is by just experimenting, doing it, and seeing what works. Even if you get it wrong the first month or so. Let's say someone wants to just start eating better or they just want to lower their blood pressure a little bit. They want to improve their lipid panel, and it can be overwhelming if you don't know where to start.
Yeah.
So, one, I would say try to learn. Try to learn from whoever your healthcare provider is. I know there's a lot of like nutritional services now that are like being covered by insurance, so taking advantage of whatever benefits you can. And then I think just taking the pressure off yourself. It's okay to get some of those things wrong and experiment because at the end of the day, your body is so unique and
Mhm.
you have to figure out what works. Getting started is the hardest part. So if you can do that, kudos to you.
The
That's
rest is easy. I feel like
not, yeah,
the
yeah,
getting started, I hear people struggle with. And then on the opposite side, I hear people where they'll say they have a streak, right? Like, I've been doing amazing.
yes,
First of all, they're like definitely trying to be perfectionistic. But
yeah.
what do you say to the person where they've kind of fallen off? And I hate that terminology, like falling off the wagon, but they get this sense of this month really went to hell in a handbasket. I mean, I'm assuming it's the same, but what kind of tips do you have for them?
This is a hot topic among the nutrition, personal training, Instagram space right now. Like people are doing, oh, I went on a 10,000 calorie binge. Like, let's see what happens afterwards,
Mm,
But we're talking more about the people who they can be consistent for maybe 2, 3 weeks and then, okay, maybe they get there, they fall off, they feel like their progress is ruined,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So the first thing I would say is a couple days off track isn't going to ruin your progress. And actually, we need to intersperse days throughout the process where you still enjoy things that you love.
yeah.
I really love kind of the 80/20 approach to eating. So you don't feel like you're being so restrictive. I feel like it shouldn't even feel like a plan. It should just feel like a way of living. That 80% of the time, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, making sure it's around the protein source, healthy fats, good quality carbs. And then if you happen to go out Friday night, have ice cream, go out to dinner, enjoy your life, that's awesome. That's a part of the process too. And I'd almost say the social benefits, people talk about alcohol too. And is it better to cut it out completely or do the social benefits outweigh what it can do to your body? I would say for sure, kind of taking that balanced approach to 80% of the time you're on track and then trusting yourself. The other 20%, okay, it's not going to be within my perfect little defined box, but I trust myself to fall back on that 80 when I'm done at the end of the
Love
day.
that.
So I don't know
Yeah.
if that made sense, but that's how I approach it.
Totally. No, it's like the trust that so like when people go on vacation, right? Again, they're maybe doing different things, like
Yes,
maybe not
vacation's a great
exercising as
example.
much, right? And I always say it's the reintegration that matters. I don't care. You were gone for 4 days, 10 days. I really don't
Yeah.
care. But when you get back, are you just getting back to what serves you? And that's the trust that you're not gonna continue to not do things that support you. And I think it takes time to get there. If in the past you were always derailed by those things, to get to a place where you're like, nope, I can enjoy myself and I get right back to things that serve me. I think it's a practice to get there.
Yeah, and I'd argue too that over time, your actions, your behavioral actions reinforce that trust in yourself. If you know that, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go enjoy my Friday night, I'm gonna go enjoy my 3, 4 day vacation, but I know that I am good with my routine when I get back and I trust my body and mind are gonna fall right back into that. I think that is really what healthy living looks like.
Totally.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think there's anything that people misunderstand about health in a busy season?
Ooh, misunderstand. I think it touches on what you were saying that it can become so rigid and perfectionist driven. I don't know if I can speak for other people, but maybe a common misunderstanding that I had was that I have to stay consistent and that fluctuations are unacceptable.
I love that you're talking about this. Yeah.
When it's like, dude, no, that is inevitably going to be a part of the process. So, how can you adjust your eating, your training, your sleeping to anticipate those fluctuations? I know you probably have a lot of people in the medical profession that listen to this. Medical training schedules can be super unpredictable. And even if you're in a routine, good luck. So your schedule throws you off 1 month to the next. Maybe not so much having that rigidity with the approach, but understanding that you are adaptable and you can actually pull different levers during different seasons to get the same outcome.
Yes. Oh, that's beautiful. Talking about fluctuations from a weight standpoint, I saw a video the other day. It went super viral. The title was like talking about gaining weight as a fitness person. I think she does training with people or something like that. And the beginning of the
Yeah.
video was how everyone would say, "Oh, honey, you're so brave for talking about this online." And she's like, "No, I'm human and this is normal. And if
Yeah.
you've lost 120 pounds, there's going to be a little up and down." And so it was just so funny that everyone I think they're delusional, to be honest, like long term what's required, right?
Yeah.
Like they think it's like always going to look the same and all of that. And it's like that's not really true. So I like that you talk about different levers and maybe even getting the same result, but it's going to look different, the input to get the same output. I think that's really a strong point.
100%. And two, something that I'm still working through is knowing what levers to pull during different seasons. Do I need to really lock in on my sleep? Is that the issue here? Because if you're not sleeping well, that's really going to be, if you're trying to lose fat and gain muscle, that's going to be hard, right? If you're stressed, you're not sleeping well. Is it the diet? Is it I'm just too busy and I'm not making the right choices? Or do I have time for the movement and maybe I've been too stressed out and putting that on the back burner. So it's also knowing which one of those levers needs to be pulled right now. So
Totally.
yeah.
Totally. This is totally off topic, but
Yeah.
uh kind of like lightning round. Okay, so we talked about your favorite breakfast. What is your favorite lunch right now? Is there a particular thing that you're on?
Oh, I'm fixated to tuna with sourdough right now. But I know sometimes physicians get concerned about the mercury levels with tuna. So tuna, sourdough, and I do a side of a Greek salad, which is sliced tomatoes, cucumbers, feta, lemon, avocado oil. I also love to volume eat because I can eat so much food. And so when you just fill your stomach, you're like, okay, I don't need to eat anymore.
First of all, this sounds so good, everything you said. I make this, a Greek salad's very similar to you. It's like
Yeah, do you have a
tomato.
fixation? Yeah.
Exactly. But do you know what I got recently? And guys, I don't know the name. I'll put the link in the show notes if you look, but it's this little chopper thing. It's like the size of a cup, guys. Okay, it's clear. You can
And
see
it's
through. Yes, and then you like pull the cord. I'm like, why did I never get this before? I put in there half cucumbers and they're just
Love.
pulverized.
Love. Wait, so only the real influencers have that tool. So you need
Oh,
to you need to really start pushing out some kitchen recipe content with that tool if you have it in your back
well,
pocket.
you know what's funny is there were these other, God, I don't know what's a mandolin, the one where you go across the top
Yeah.
and it has a blade. Okay, first of all, almost killed myself with that. And it doesn't matter if you have like a hand thing on. It's so hard to like the end of veggies. And so I realized this other one is so much easier. I hate things that are hard to wash or they can't go in the dishwasher. Do not
Yeah.
give me hard food processor things to clean. So once I found this, I'm like, I do want the world to know about it.
Actually, that reminds me, another dinner fixation I have right now. It's with that tool. What do you call it? The mandolin.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I make my own zucchini noodles. So you take a zucchini, and
Okay.
that's your noodles, saute it in a pan with some marinara ground beef. It's high volume, low carb pasta. That's
Oh,
been
that
another
sounds
fixation.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you forget how many options there are. I'm hoping people listening that they're getting some ideas here. Oh, yeah, that used to be a thing that we made zucchini noodles, right? We
Right.
need to get back to it. Yeah.
Too, I'll say like a lot of my meals come from also the fact that I'm a student right now. So I have to think about cost affordability.
Yeah.
And a lot of my
Totally.
meals happen on accident. I call them happy accidental combinations. And zucchini noodles, Whole Foods is charging me $8. I'm like, dude, I could just make this at home. So
Totally.
yeah, experiment
Totally.
with what you got in the fridge. That's another great piece of advice.
Definitely. Is there a dessert that you like right now that's maybe more on the healthy side?
Oh, I love dates. I have a problem with dates.
There are worse problems.
So, but something I am eating, there are two things I go back and forth with. The brand, I don't know if I'm like butchering their name when I'm saying this, but Who Chocolate,
Okay.
all natural, great ingredients. My favorite flavor, it's the dark chocolate hazelnut, dark chocolate cashew butter, two little squares of that, and you put it in a date.
Oh,
It's just,
yeah.
it's so satisfying at the end of the day. And then I've really been getting into drinking. The brand Paleo Valley makes a great chocolate or vanilla bone broth. And
I've tried it. It's divine. Everybody
it's
listening, I tried the retreat that I had in February. The doctors came. One of them brought it because
it's amazing.
she's like dairy free, egg free,
Yes.
like everything. It's literally, I think, a coconut base to it, but
Yep.
there's nothing that resembles a bone broth in it, meaning the
Nope.
taste wise, it is so low calories, so good. Is it how many grams of protein it is? I think it's like 80 calories and
It's 80, 90 calories, about 12 grams of protein. But I also know
yeah,
the protein you're getting, like the amino acids you're getting from broth, are those aren't necessarily going to muscle mass, right? It's for like it's great for your skin, right? Like the
yeah, right.
collagen.
Lots of good
Yeah.
properties. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Okay, that's really cool that you said that. When I'm like, oh, I know this.
Yes, Paleo Valley, I've been addicted to it. And people are like, are you just saying that for social media? I'm like, no, guys, come
Isn't
watch.
this funny when people say this to me online sometimes too? I'm like, I would not talk about something that I'm not a raving fan
Right,
of. That's forever what's online. I don't want my name behind that if I don't love it.
right. If I'm not using it every day, then I'm not going to promote it to an audience. And I'm sure you feel the same way as well.
Well, I think that's a good point that you make. I have an episode coming up here where I talk about kind of safety online. I spoke to an expert
Mm,
about looking, is it an AI channel, figuring it out, because it's very confusing, to be honest. And one of the things that I think when you're following a creator, you should see that same product keep showing up. Like,
yes.
and it's not just it says ad at the bottom of what they're talking about, but is it naturally showing up in stories and their recipes? It should not be this weird thing where it's mentioned once and then never again. Like they're
Never
probably not
again.
actually using it. Yeah.
If they are using it in their what I eat in a days for multiple months in a row, you better believe that's a good product. If it's someone that cares about their health and fitness and you trust. So I love
Totally.
that. I'll be listening to that episode.
Yeah.
So
I feel like I've seen episodes online where people do their empties. You know how they do it with beauty, but they also I've
yeah.
seen that with food, and I'm like, that's a really good idea.
Yes.
Like empty
Yeah.
peanut butter jar. Is there any crunchy, salty snack that you like?
Crunchy, salty snack. So apples and cottage cheese. Great
Hmm.
one. The Purely Elizabeth granola, I need to not snack on it as much as I do, but it really just scratches an itch in my brain. And then I would also say I really love roasted chickpeas,
Yeah.
and they're salty, sprinkled on top of a salad. The other trick I have for someone who is maybe somewhere where I struggle is like at the end of the day. I
Yeah.
always want to snack when I'm
Yeah.
studying at night, or I'm just feeling a bit mentally restless. I'm like, oh, I just want to eat something right now. Dill pickles. I will go to the fridge and just chomp. It's because it's crunchy, it's salty. And this goes back to a reel I had posted. This reel ended up blowing up talking about a hot girl snack. And it's literally just green beans, lemon, garlic salt. And someone in the comments said, "Ooh, you should put it in an air fryer. It's even better." So
I
it's
think I
like the
found you on this video.
yeah, it's like hot girl French fries. That snack has been carrying me throughout med school, you better believe. Those are some go-tos when I'm feeling so ravenous, but I want to make the good choice. So, yeah.
Totally. Oh, I love these so much. Okay, do you think there's anything that we haven't talked about here that's essential for 101 getting in movement, nutrition, mindset, anything that we didn't talk about?
Yeah, obviously people love to know about, okay, what the very solid facts. What should I be eating? How
Totally.
much of it? What are your tips and tricks for working out? Those two pillars can't stand without the third pillar of mental, spiritual, social well-being.
Yeah.
And I think something that has been huge for me, I think people romanticize this grind, this medical school, becoming a doctor, anything you're doing that's hard, right? There's this romanticized view, oh yeah, this grind, you love it. And
Yeah.
no, there's some points when you're like, oh, this is so hard. And I've been so locked into my fitness and so locked into my nutrition. And I had started to reach a point where I'm like, this doesn't feel fun anymore.
Yeah.
Where's the fun in all this? Because at the end of the day, the big question I've been asking myself is like, why am I here? Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
And so I think something that's so important for people who are just trying to better their health in general is carving time out of their day schedule for unstructured activity to think, play, be creative, and build something that is their own. And I think social media has been such a saving grace, at least in my personal experience. Not obviously not everyone has to do social media as their creative outlet,
Concept. Yeah.
but the concept, it could be like writing, it could be, I don't know, I have friends who knit in medical school. I have friends, everyone in their 20s, the joke is either you're getting married or you're running a marathon. Maybe you want to run, I guess that kind of falls under fitness, but finding something that lights you up outside of what you're doing and connects to your bigger why, your bigger purpose. I think that's what's going to keep you going when this grind, when it becomes, you're like, oh, did I make the right choice by being here? So that is also something that I think is super important.
I'm so glad you brought this up because at first when you were talking, I was like, oh, that's the frolic time that I talk about, where it's like I can do what I want, I can go where I want. But what you were talking about, also bringing that meaning and basically everything not being your identity with work or sort of, I don't know, I like to think of myself as multi-passionate. And I think
Yes.
actually everyone is to some capacity, whether you know it or not. And if we don't build out those other things, we get really decimated. If we get fired from a job, we
Yes.
think, oh my gosh, that identity is gone. It's like you were really never just the job, but that was the only thing you put your energy into. I really love what you brought up. One thing that I've just been fascinated, like the more I learn about hormones, how big a role oxytocin plays in hunger regulation. And I always thought, oh, it's just a hormone for bonding with mother and baby. No, there's actually a lot if you're isolated or you're not connecting with people.
Yeah.
There's just so many things that go into wellness that it's really interesting when the check engine light goes on and we're thinking, why do I not feel so good? It might not just be eat more protein. It might be literally go hang out with a friend that night,
Go
right?
hang
Like
out
it's
with a
so
friend.
different. Yeah,
I find that so fascinating as well. And I just could not agree more with everything that you just said, because I feel like so often we want the quick fix. And I'm guilty of this too. At the end of a long day, I feel so depleted by my work that what do? I go for the dopamine scroll on
totally.
the phone. And that's not really what your body needs. Your body needs that connection, that less immediate gratification experience. And that also connects into how we develop unhealthy relationships with our food.
Totally.
So
Totally.
yeah, 100%.
I mean, I remember in medical school, God, I was so unhealthy. I just remember big quantities of food because I was trying to have energy to study. And so I just
Yeah.
remember it was like just very unhealthy food. But also, I would just study for a period and then watch Netflix and then study for a period and
Yeah.
watch Netflix. And it's like, obviously, that was horrendous. But it didn't occur to me, you will feel better if you do more walks or you do more things like that. I think it's like sometimes you slump into this depression of sorts. I don't want to say that in a clinical sense, but just you're so down, you almost think to yourself, okay, what's the easiest version to get the neurochemicals in my brain up? And sometimes you think it's on the couch eating candy, watching Netflix. And it's like, that will not feel good long term. And I think it's hard to think about how can I start to change things so that I can break this cycle when you're really busy.
And that is something that I've really been alarmed to see in medical training because I'm surrounded by medical students, I'm surrounded by residents. And something, I guess this goes back to part of the reason why I started the page was because I couldn't believe that no one's teaching the people who are going to be running our healthcare systems how to be healthy themselves. It just so happened that I had a background in sports and fitness, and I find these things naturally interesting. So, of course, I want to learn more. But a lot of people coming into medical school, they don't know what a good strength program looks like or how much protein they should be getting in a day.
And I think
So,
too, the messaging, at least again, I'm a few years back here, but the messaging was always you need to study hard, you need to get these
yes.
grades, you need to push, 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 do better on your rotations. You have to do good on this shelf exam. Everyone who's listening, third and fourth year, you have exams at every single rotation to make sure you're keeping pace. It's not just big exams. So anyway, the point is, I don't know at any point that someone was like, do you first. Like,
Or
that was never brought up.
is anyone like, how are you doing? That has been one of the biggest frustrations and at the same time drivers for the content. Something I've personally been working on is unattaching the medical student role from who I am. Because
Yeah.
when you're in that realm all the time and you're measured based on scores and publications, it's so easy to get lost in the sauce and fall in. Oh,
Totally.
the worst thing you can do is take a bunch of the highest achieving students across the country and put them in the same place, right?
Totally. Totally.
So the mental game of it is so huge. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember before exams, there would be some kids that I always said, like, don't pollute the air. I will not stand by them because they had like
Oh,
negative energy. And I was like, I have to walk away. Like, it was such a pressure cooker and a weird zone. And we had like 3, 4 hour exams. And anyway, it's honestly wretched. But the bottom line is, yeah, I remember they put us, a psychologist put us in a room one time. He's like, 50% of you guys are depressed. And it was like,
yeah.
awesome. Thanks for
Yeah.
telling us.
Or they have like, oh, this almost sent me over the edge. There's mandatory wellness modules instead of just letting us have the
Yeah,
hour off and go on the walk. And
totally.
there's something about the medical education system needs to be revamped. And I don't know if obviously one person can do it, but I think it starts with physicians who are passionate about this stuff, students who are in it, who are trying to make it better, residents who are in it, who are trying to make it better. I don't know the answers, but it's definitely an area that I think we're still actively trying to figure out.
I think nowadays, at least I'll just speak from women physician, me being one, I think that we are speaking more honestly to the next generation. And
Yes.
so I remember like when I was still doing primary care in an academic institution, I had a third year come in and shadow me. And I remember she just told me how horrible life was. Okay, just to put it simply. And I was like, yeah, this is exactly what
Yeah.
I went through. It's horrendous, witnessed, validated, it is true. Here's how it will change. Here's how it won't. Here's what you could do differently. She had a totally different outlook after that because no
Yeah.
one had just broken down the playbook, right? And it was like
Yeah.
I had the time to just sit there for an hour or two after a day and do it, but that doesn't really fit in most of the scenarios. If you're doing inpatient rounds, you're not
There's no
sitting there
time. Yeah.
talking about this. That's not happening. Yeah.
And that it also brings it back to why visibility on social media is important for the physicians who have that mindset, the residents who have that mindset, the medical students who have that mindset, because there was a time where I felt that same way.
Yeah.
And it's only through talking to others who were unafraid to let me in. And there's a big component of, I think, what prevents people from sharing it is shame, like shame that they felt that
Yes.
way. And
Yes.
so people who are unafraid to just talk about how much they went through and the reality of it, I think we have to do a better job of communicating to people who are about to embark on this process what the reality is.
Yeah.
And that is literally the thesis of PubMed. So,
Totally. What we're talking about is essentially vulnerability, right? Being willing to
yeah,
share this stuff. And I think sometimes people are not safe to share that around it because they might use it
yeah,
against you negatively. But I'll never forget when in school I had a friend and I was like, oh, isn't this so hard? And she was always like, oh no, I'm okay, da da da. And she kept failing step one, like
oh,
the exam between second and third year. And I
yeah.
was thinking, wow, could you never admit that it was hard, that you're struggling? It's just like she just could not come to say that this is hard for me. It was just really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a systemic thing for sure. And I think it just speaks to the fact that if you're gonna do this, there has to be a time where you have to be real with yourself.
Yeah.
And a moment I had recently was not getting a score on something that
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to attain a
Yep.
certain score. And just coming to terms with the fact that it's like, okay, am I still happy with myself even in the midst of this score? And answering that question, like honestly, and being like, like the world's not going to end. I think a lot of this comes down to obviously, yeah, take care of your physical health, take care of your mental health, and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, what medical school has also really done for me is it's given me the opportunity to meet myself at a more honest and authentic level
Yeah.
than I ever thought was possible
Yeah.
beforehand. And I'm sure that a lot of other people probably experience that in law or dentistry or whatever, but specifically in medical school, man. And you're
Well,
getting
I mean,
critiqued all day long. Yeah. So,
this goes for probably everyone listening. Life kind of humbles you
yeah.
as you go along. But I think just thank you for coming on today and us just having a real conversation about this because I'm hoping that people leave this episode with hearing, oh, I can do simple, easy things. I can just find what my floor is. Just that it can be a lot more simple and basic and you can build on it. And that maybe there are some nice snacks and things like that too, right? Tell us how people can find you because I know that they'll want to follow you to learn more.
Yes, on Instagram, you can find me at pump.med. And I also do TikTok, but my TikTok handle is a little different because someone had taken pump med apparently. So it's pump.med underscore. But Instagram is my main platform for now. So would love to have anyone who's listening who just wants realistic, applicable fitness, mental health, nutrition advice to follow along. So thank you for having me on so much.
That marks the end of today's episode. But if you're newer to the podcast, I want to tell you about something that we have, and it's a free podcast roadmap. So this is perfect for any of you that are listening where you want to be directed to very specific episodes. So let's say that you are just starting out and you want to know, what should I do right when I start on the medications? Or you're experiencing certain side effects on the GLP-1s, or you want to know what to do if you're in a plateau, or if emotional eating is taking over, or if hunger levels are high. So we have many different categories of episodes that we've talked about because there's a lot at this point. So if you want to be able to navigate that very easily, we have it broken down by category and also the episodes that are there, and we hyperlink to everything. So you can just click on it and find the episode, easy peasy. If you want that, you can go to rentiaclinic.com/podcast roadmap. We'll have it linked right here underneath the show notes where you're listening. And you can go ahead and get that free resource so that it makes it easy for you to navigate, because I know that it's really hard when someone has an established podcast. I am such a podcast fiend, listening to podcasts all day long. And when I find one that I love, but there's a lot that are out there, I am so lost. So I hope that you enjoy this free podcast roadmap. Again, the link to get to that is going to be rentiaclinic.com/podcast roadmap. I hope this is helpful, and let me know if you have any questions.